Well, good afternoon, everyone. That's loud, just to make sure everybody. Welcome to Tohoto. It's been a very busy day for the Berlin-Boylston School District. We're excited to have everyone share their learning and the student showcase at Tohoto, and the celebration of learning at the elementary schools. So hopefully it's been a wonderful day for everyone who's been able to join us. My name is Lisa Sequeira. I am the principal here at Tohoto, and we have Renee Alejandra, who is the assistant principal, who really is focusing on the middle school. And we have Greg Picarello, who is the middle school guidance counselor. We will be introducing the 6th grade team, the core teacher team, to you, but we'd just like to extend a warm welcome. It's an exciting time. Most of the time there are a little bit of nerves as your students transition from elementary school to middle school. That is a big transition, but we're here to hopefully ease those worries a little, the questions. We're not going to answer all your questions today. We want to give you some guidance around what your student schedule is going to look like next year, as well as to provide you some understanding of who to reach out to, and just to provide you some familiarity with who you might be able to reach out to for questions throughout, as we transition students from 5th grade to 6th grade. And we have, Mr. Cameron is the assistant principal who focuses on the high school, but we really all, touch bases with all of the students, so we all are familiar with the, grades 6 through 12. So what we're all about is making sure that we set your students up for a really strong middle school experience, preparing your child for today and the future. So making sure that whether their social skills, whether their academic skills, we're really providing the support for all of those skills to have a well-rounded experience. We want to support your child's independence, encourage them to take risks, and most importantly, to self-advocate. As we grow our students, we want to make sure that they're able to reach out to teachers and to people in the building when they feel they need help. And that is an incredibly important skill for our students. So we really want to encourage those independent skills. We want to be supportive, but not enabling. So we want to support our students, but we don't want to necessarily enable behaviors that are not independent, that are not self-advocacy. So we are really looking to who do we want our students to be as they move through middle school and on into high school, preparing them, giving them those skills. And remember to help your child balance their interests with their academic and extracurricular schedule. It's important that they feel academically challenged and exposure to all different types of academic experiences. Also, it's very important that they are familiar with and are exposed to a variety of extracurricular activities. In middle school, they'll have activities that are available to them. They're also, as they're part of this 6 through 12 middle high school, they'll see older students involved in many more activities, hopefully growing their interests in those areas. So the 6th grade team, did you want to introduce Ms. Legendre? Did you want to introduce?
Absolutely. So we have some members of our 6th grade team here with us today, and we have some others in the pictures here. But we have Mrs. Cox here down front. She teaches math. You have some fans back there. We have Miss Galuska here who teaches science. Look at that. And Mrs. Perry is here who teaches social studies. Mr. Starziak is not here with us, but he does teach ELA. And also on our slide there, we do have Ms. Banis, who this year is in charge of the special education for 6th grade. And they're going to speak a little bit about some of the transition pieces for our rising 6th graders, right? You 5th graders who are rising up to 6th grade. And this will be kind of the first opportunity to hear from them. And then we will do a move-up day where our students will have the opportunity to come into Tohoto. And we've changed the date so many times. June 3rd. So in a couple of months, so we'll have that nice opportunity for them to come and have lunch with us and also be able to be in all the classrooms for 6th grade, have a little tour of the school. And then there's another opportunity as well that we'll talk about with the student council in the summertime. But we do have some teachers here that would like to share a little information to start with. Who would like the microphone? She likes the stage.
She may dance.
I may. Not yet.
Do we have
Okay.
Perfect?
Right.
Perfect. So I'm going to talk to you about the transition. Mrs. Sequeira mentioned it. It is the thing we focus on at the very beginning. It is probably one of the most important parts of the year. And I assure you that that is our focus from the get-go, starting right now. It's a big transition. It's an academic transition and it's a social transition. And we recognize that both pieces are important to the kids and to their families as well. But the first few weeks are really devoted to coming in, getting comfortable, building relationships with all the adults in the building, building new relationships with kids, because we've got 2 schools coming together, as well as kids from even outside of our system. And we've learned very quickly when we started middle school here that really one of the most important things for them is that they feel very comfortable in the building. For example, can they open their locker? You know, I think we started off in the early years doing some games with them and stuff, but really they just wanted to open their locker. And so, you know, we've learned over the years that those are the things that are important to them, as well as getting into the routine, but still feeling comfortable. So learning to navigate the building. We spend a lot of time walking them to classes. We spend time out at the lockers. We go down to the lunchroom with them. So there's that. And then we get into academics. Excuse me. We get into the academics with them fairly quickly, but we take it slow. So we want to make sure that they're comfortable. We practice different routines. We want them to go home starting on that first day and say, I had a great day. And so that's been our focus. That last note there, friend groups will change. That is something I've heard a lot about today. I don't know if you've heard that. I've encountered a lot of families who said, you know, since they've been here, you know, they started with this many friends and now this has changed, and sometimes they're hanging around with kids that they weren't best friends with before. They've met people from different schools, and it changes, and it can be hard, but I think by the end of the year they find their spot, and that's important for everybody. They need to feel like they belong to their community. We try to build community among all the kids. You know, Berlin and Boylston, we try to not focus on the fact that you're from Berlin and you're from Boylston, but you are part of now the Tohoto 6th grade community. Nothing has.
progress, not perfection. So they usually don't give me one of these. I gotta figure this out. We're looking for students to gain the skills necessary to be successful, and that's going to take some time. They're going to come into school and they're going to see grades for possibly the first time on their report card, and they're not all going to be A students right off the bat or all the time. Or it may start out that they are, things are going really well, and then things get harder, and there's going to be some bumps in the road. Sometimes kids stumble on their way, but I believe that every kid will get there. All right, it's just going to take some time, and they're stronger when they can figure these things out on their own, because then it becomes a tool in their own toolbox. So yes, we are supportive, as was mentioned, but also with a little bit of risk taking in some of the things that they're going to have to do to be successful. We have, a different workload. There's time management. They're going to have to. I've heard this year that some kids tell me, "Well, I have no time for homework. I have to do my chores, and I have this practice, and then I eat dinner, and I have to play Fortnite, and then I have to," and not understanding that you're going to have to make time for those things. There will be homework. You will have to be doing some things at home, and that you've got to carve a place for that to be successful. But it doesn't always have to look like everyone else's. Some people go home and they sit down at 3 o'clock at the table, and they sit there and they do their homework until it's done. And other people have other things they have to do, and homework looks a little different. Some of them do all of their homework, they do it early, so because they know they're going to be busy, right? So they have to figure these things out, and that takes time. That takes time. And middle school is a time for growth. All we're asking is that they're better next week than they were this week. That's really all we're looking for academically. They're funny enough, they're going to come and they're going to ask us for homework before we actually give any. That happens every year. They're like, "So when are we getting homework?" So I think they're ready for it, right? It just might, present a challenge that they have to figure out, but they'll get there. Whoops. I don't know anything about it. In terms of independence, we're looking for kids to grow the skills they need to self-advocate. So students will be more self-reliant. They're responsible for their own academic success. You're going to hear a lot about their PowerSchool account. They have their own PowerSchool account. You have a PowerSchool account as well. And we ask them to go into their account, to check their assignments, to see what's missing, to see where they need to finish things up. Do they need to talk to someone? And building those skills to do that. Not every student who walks through the door is going to be ready to do that. But what we're looking to do is build those skills over time. Some of you have done, this is not your first rodeo, but if this is new for you, if you want to practice having your student order meals when you go out in the summertime, or purchase the tickets if you go someplace, just so they get that practice going up to an adult and asking, for something, because that's going to need to happen when they're here. They may be absent and need to come in and ask for work that they've missed, those kinds of things. Sometimes those conversations are hard for them. So any opportunity to practice that will help that self-advocacy. And they need that self-motivation, that idea that they're going to have to take the initiative to get some things started. And if they do that, they're going to end up in a place where they can be successful. And if they try to avoid those situations and kind of put things off, then it's only going to be harder. And again, it's one of those things that they're going to have to practice, build those muscles, and it will come, but it can usually take some time and some adjustments. And then we have some growth that has to happen between students and building community. Sometimes students are not as aware about how their words and actions affect other people, but they were laughing. But that doesn't mean that they thought it was funny. It just meant that they might have been uncomfortable. So we have a lot of those kinds of things we have to work through, right? Because kids want to be funny, they want to present those things. And that's, the friend groups all have to work out. So I think there's a lot of growth that's gonna happen, and sometimes it's a little bit scary, but in the end, we support them to that. I think right now, as we look at the kids who are sharing today, they are all in a really great place. They were proud to come in and show their parents the things that they had been doing. They found their friend groups. They've shared a lot of the things that they have been working on and doing, and how they were proud about them and some of their self-reflections. So they've really gotten to that place, but it's been a process. Yeah. So we can't wait to start another year in the fall. We'll have some visits with orientation and new schedules to learn, and so I think that's probably the next thing, right?
Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Picarella. I'm the middle school counselor here at Tohoto. I just was hoping to take a couple minutes and talk about counseling because counseling has changed a lot over the years, and the way we talk about mental health has changed a lot over the years. So just wanted to go over some of the things that the way it might look for your student when they're here at Tohoto. So my own quick journey through personal counseling, I don't know about you guys and your experience when you guys went through school, but my first experience with a school counselor when I was in high school, and I went to my counselor and to tell them how many colleges I was planning on applying to. I don't know, does anybody want to guess how many colleges I was planning on applying to? No, almost one. I was going to apply to one college, and looking back, I would have applied to at least two. But at the time, my counselor was the football coach, and I don't know that I was really high on his list of priorities. And then I seem to remember something along that lines, like, yeah, you go get him, something along those lines. And that was it for me. So when I ended up going back to school to be a counselor, I didn't have that personal experience of having someone, a counselor that I leaned on and I looked to. And when I was going to school for counseling, the thing we talked a lot about was results-based counseling, which to me was very much an emotional deli counter. If you could imagine a deli counter and you pick a number and some kid comes up and says, crippling anxiety. And I'm like, have you tried journaling? And then I send them on their way and they go back to class. So, and I don't think that necessarily works because I don't think people really want to talk if they don't feel comfortable. And being invited into a counselor's office and being expected to share something that's really personal to you is a tough thing for us to ask. So our goal here is building relationships. And our goal is to build a relationship with students so that they do want to talk, they have a safe place to do so. Because I think there's a lot of value in feeling heard and feeling seen. And, ideally, it can be it's a parent that's there for them, but I'm a parent myself, and I know that means that I'm cringy to my kids, and whatever I say is wrong, even if it matches up what other people say. Whatever I say is wrong. So sometimes it's nice to have that other adult that students can bounce things off or talk to that's not someone at home, and it feels different. It's sort of this non-judgmental space. They don't feel like they owe us anything. And we've built a lot of great relationships with kids and worked on supporting them. I don't know about you guys, I didn't have that counselor, but I had Mrs. Cook. Mrs. Cook was my middle school art teacher. And I'd walk into class and she'd say, how you doing? And I typically didn't have to say anything to her. I had a hard time in school. She'd give me a hug and she'd send me on my way. Now, we don't hug kids, but there's a way to make people feel supported and feel seen. And I think that helps them do their job. And right now, your students, their job is to be the best student they can be. And maybe that's, grade-wise, they're going to get an A+, and maybe they're going to get a C, and that's the best they've got. But we want them to feel like they're invested in school, and they've got people here that believe in them. I know these teachers do a great job of connecting with our students and helping with this transition, but as counselors, we really want to make sure that we can be there as well and provide that space for your students and for you guys as well. Because you might see something at home and say, I'm not really sure what this is about, but my child feels off today. Reach out to us and we can talk about it and try to support you guys as well. So just want to give you a quick introduction to our counseling staff. Again, I'm Greg Picarella. I'm the middle school counselor. This is my 10th year at Tohoto. We have Katie Schmidt is our high school counselor, 9 through 10, and she's also part-time school adjustment counselor. Eileen Rodman is our department head. She's the high school counselor in grades 11 through 12. We also have Kara Ford, who's our school adjustment counselor, and Dr. Kim Trainer, who's our school psychologist. So there's a lot of people up here for your students to build connections with. And if it's not me, it might be one of them. And that's great. We just want someone to be there so when they need something, they have someone they can talk to. So if you have any questions at all about counseling, if you're worried about your student and the transition, if they're feeling anxious about anything, we're going to be visiting the elementary schools to talk to students, answer questions, try to build some more comfort as far as what it's like to transition to Tohoto. But if you as parents also have questions and you want to talk, just please shoot me an email and let me know, and I'll help in any way that I can. All right, so that's counseling. Now we're going to get into scheduling while we're here. So grade 6, there were a bunch of things are going to be put in the schedule for your students already anyways. They're going to have their 4 core classes put in. They're also going to have a rotational schedule for electives. Every student gets a semester every other day of music, reading, computer science discoveries, and PE. 6th grade is the only grade in middle school where students won't have PE every other day for the whole year. It's just in 6th grade they have it for half a year, and then it'll be in their schedule every other day moving forward. They also, every day, are going to have Quest Block, and I'll get into Quest Block. It's a required class for every student. It's a transitional course. It's meant to meet your students where they're at. So there might be a big project coming up in Miss Barry's social studies class. Certain students might go to Miss Barry's class, they need the extra support. Or maybe they struggle in math and they're going to Mrs. Cox's room to get ready for a test. So it's a really flexible period where they get to work with their core teachers and get that next tier of support to help them through just the day-to-day grind of middle school. And also they break out into called like micro electives. We'll spend a couple weeks working on, I know, amazing structures is one of the things we talk about, man-made structures. We have all these little things to keep it fresh, but it's a great part of the transitional piece of 6th grade. They have this period built in to fill in the blanks for your students. So it's a really great opportunity for those kiddos. There's also an elective period where they get to make a choice of what they want. The choices being art, band, jazz band, chorus, Lego robotics, and intro to Spanish. So you can see in the scheduling letter, which is available and is going to be posted online as well, all of those things are listed there, as well on our program of studies, where you can see detailed descriptions of what these classes are. We're going to have students pick 2 main choices and 2 backups. Can I come back to you? Is that okay? I'll definitely answer some questions after, but I'll come back to you, so hang on to that. Special education services. Our special ed department hand schedules all of our students to make sure they get the services that they need. So our academic support class in 6th grade and beyond and through middle school takes place during elective blocks, so they won't be missing a core class for a special ed service. Intensive language arts, same idea, takes place during elective. So if your student is on an IEP and they do have something like academic support or intensive language arts, it would be in place of elective. So that's something we want to talk about, what electives they would want to keep just in case. Our special ed coordinator, Tasha, she's going to be the point of contact. She's also not going to be here with us long term, so we're going to be transitioning to a new person for that role. So I would say she's the person to reach out to now, and then she can connect you with whoever the next person is going to be. All right, so before you enter requests for your students, you want to look over the request choices. They're on that sheet that's available. We also have it digitally, and that program of studies is on our website, and the link is here, and we'll be posting this presentation so you can go there and give you detailed descriptions on all those classes. You're going to need internet access, of course. You're going to need that program of studies and the student login. So you're going to go to bbrsd.org, and you're going to go to Tohoto. Is our page still showing up of like work in progress?
So it is. I think that's important because all of the school's website, the full BBRC, it'll immediately show up, in progress or under construction. Give it a minute, that message will pop out, and then you can go to either Tohoto or whatever school you're interested in looking, but it's there.
Yeah. So for these purposes, you're going to go to our, you can go to Tohoto, you're going to click on PowerSchool Login under For Students, and you're going to put in the username and password. All your students are going to have their grad year, which is 2031, I believe, for these guys, right? The future. 2031, their first initial of their first name and their last name. And then everyone's password is going to be reset to Stags123. It'll then prompt you to create a new password, which you guys can do. Just going to make sure it's at least 8 characters. And for parents, you will have your own login to PowerSchool, and in our schedule letter, there's information on there for how you guys can sign in as well. So this is what it's going to look like when you go in there. On the left side, you'll see it says class registration. Just want to make sure the name at the top is correct, so you're not signing up for somebody else. That hasn't happened to us, but just in case, we're going to make sure. So you're going to see required courses at the top here. like I said, a majority of those classes are going to be already picked for you. And then it's going to get into sort of the elective choices. A red pencil with an exclamation point means you still have something to do before you're done. And then a green check mark means you're all set. And then at the end, you want to just make sure you scroll all the way down to the bottom to hit submit. So you're going to pick 2 main choices and 2 backups. We do our best to get students into their main choices, but it's not a guarantee. So when they're signing up for something as a backup, you want to make sure it's something they actually might want to take because they might be placed in that class. Please don't repeat. If you really want art, please don't put art for main choice and backup because it just creates a false number of how many spots we need and it messes with our numbers. So please don't repeat any classes in there. That's really important. You want to make sure you're clicking through and see if there's extra electives. In the middle school, there's typically not enough electives to have another page, but just in case it's there. And then you want to make sure you hit submit. You can go back and edit your choices as many times as you want until the deadline of April 5th when we turn off that option. So if you change your mind, feel free to go back in and do the process again and change it. So you're going to log in through our home page. You're going to use the appropriate username and password, which is again on this presentation. You want to put in the request, and then you want to submit it by April 5th, which is, I think, 2 Fridays from now. Yeah, 2 Fridays. A couple Fridays from now. Okay, and then the way it works is if you went home today and scheduled, that doesn't mean you have a better chance of getting it than someone who does it on April 4th. All the requests go into the computer, and we hit a big button. I think it's literally like a big button push. Yeah, it's cool. And we hit a big button, and it's huge. We slap it. Yeah, it's very cool. It's very nice for us. It's fun. It's like the easy button. Yes, so we hit the button, and based on student requests and based on numbers, it places all the students. So like for most 6th grade students, art is one of their choices. We have art that meets every other day, 24 slots apiece. So that's 48 spots for typically 80 or 90 students who are requesting it. So not every student is going to get into those main choices, but we do our best to try to make it positive for our students. Middle school typically happens later than high school. We get our high school schedule all set since we are 6 through 12. And then middle school comes. Sometimes our scheduling, you don't, not until summertime. We get those things out, but you will get a schedule. You'll get it through Power School. Any questions about scheduling or anything? I guess in general, I'm a good middleman. You just email me. My email's there. My email's on the website. If I don't know the answer, I will help you find the person that does have an answer and do my best to support you through that.
Sure, absolutely. So health office information. So attendance, parents must call their children in sick to the school sick line. This is important. So we want to make sure that everybody who's absent is appropriately absent and, people haven't gotten lost along the way. So it is important to make sure that you call your child in sick. I think this is probably the biggest thing as students get older. We keep track of absences, we keep track of test scores. There's a lot more to keep track of. Absences are only excused using a written parent excusal. There are 3 parent excusals per semester for illness only or from a doctor. The state right now is very concerned about chronic absenteeism. They actually don't care whether the absence is excused or unexcused. All absences count as an absence, and that's what's documented to the state. So there is an understanding that parents have 3 parental excusals available, but absences are something that we make sure we keep track of because the state is keeping track of that very closely, with us. And so if there's a concern about many absences, someone will reach out to you and will want to discuss that and understand what's happening and how we can support our families in getting their students to school consistently. 6th grade orientations. So 6th grade orientation, this time is very exciting. So this is a very quick overview because we know as it's getting closer to the end of the school year, people become anxious, and we do have things for you to do. We need that scheduling so we can move forward. But when it gets really close to the beginning of school, we have some exciting opportunities. And one of those is the sixth grade orientation. This will happen in August. And that is we will announce this. And we haven't determined yet exactly when that will take place. But it will be hosted by student council students, the middle and high school student council, otherwise known as STUCO, and they do a wonderful job welcoming students, energizing students for the upcoming school year. This is an optional activity. It is not required, but really helps students feel welcomed. And as you've heard, I think you've heard this in from multiple people, we're focusing on building community. We're focusing on building relationships. That's incredibly important because children learn best when they feel connected. And that's really what we want. And we want to start off the year right with that. So parents must pick up and drop off for that experience. And we will ask, when that comes out, we'll send out an invitation. And that invitation, we will ask for a response for that RSVP. We'll allow students to be assigned and practiced using lockers depending on DESE guidelines. So that is because that is probably a remnant from COVID because we weren't allowed to use lockers at that time. But so during this orientation, they are gonna be able to open their lockers. This isn't the only time they'll be able to open their lockers. There is going to be other opportunities during the first several weeks of school to practice opening their lockers. It's a big deal. Lockers are like it's a funny thing. Lockers are funny. You know what I mean? Do you remember your lockers? And they decorate the lockers and they open the lockers. So there's a lot of stuff to do with the lockers, but it can also be stressful because if you're trying to get into your locker and you can't get into your locker, that's a big deal. So we understand that, and we completely get that, so there are opportunities. We also will review the schedule with the students, their schedules, so they'll get a copy of their schedules, and they'll be able to get tours of the building with the students. They have an opportunity to ask upper class people and and other middle school from the student council. They'll be able to ask them questions because there's no better source of information than students themselves. They love to hear from students because what we say, and we get, but what do we know, right? Not really, honestly. But the kids, if a high school student says, then it must be true. So that really is important. And it also is an incredibly important opportunity to make connections so that as a community, even though our middle and high school is separated, there's a middle school wing and a high school wing, you will see each other. And it's really great when the middle school students can, go up and they were the leader during orientation. There's a sense of familiarity that's really important. And again, part of that sense of community. They'll be able to meet their teachers and other school personnel. And there will be an opportunity. The student council is very good at providing icebreaker games and playing games and making sure that students are familiar with the peers that they're going to be working with over the next how many ever years, but 7 years, I'm hoping. And it's a wonderful opportunity for them to start building their community. So in closing, Mrs. Legendre, would you like to do the?
Sure. So we have some representatives from some of our parent groups here today, and so you can get an opportunity if you have specific questions. Our PTO, we have some representatives actually out at the student store. So if you wanted to check out the student store and ask any kind of questions around that organizational group, you can. We also have some representatives from our CPAC, our Special Education Parent Advisory Group. This is Parents right down here, okay? So if you have any specific questions about special ed or how that group gets together, I put out a flyer, and she has some as well with a QR code. It's great to just kind of keep in the loop about parents' rights and those pieces for special education. Our Tohoto Athletic Booster Club, they provided all those beautiful balloons, by the way, after their meat raffle. Yeah, so we have a really active sports group and a booster club, as many of you know. So we had some posters out earlier in the day. I'm not sure if they still are, but they're definitely on our website. You can connect up with them. They also hold monthly meetings, as the two other groups do as well. And we do have some representatives from the Clinton Savings Bank. So I don't know how many of you, your students, already have some of those saving passbook accounts with your students. They'll still have that opportunity here at the middle high school to be able to, make deposits or, hopefully not gather too much cash, but they'll be able to do some banking still here, which is great. And if they don't have an account yet, I'm sure there's some information out here for you. It is also part of, when they get older into the high school, part of the financial literacy standards. So we are really very fortunate to have that I don't know if we say alliance, but that working partnership with the Clinton Savings Bank. So they're also out in the lobby for you as well. Some of you that may have come in a little later or did notice them on the table, we do have these scheduling letters. I know there's a lot of information that we went over tonight, especially if you're first time parent and you don't have older students here, as far as getting that scheduling piece done within the next week. So feel free to come see me after for a letter. We'll also make sure that we update a couple of those funny typos. I was wondering about that DESI regulation. I thought it was something, oh, that's interesting. There's a regulation about lockers. But that makes sense. It was a COVID thing, right? So we'll update a couple pieces on this presentation. It has been streamed, so those that weren't able to make it, if you have, friends and neighbors, this presentation, I'll put up on our Facebook. And if you are on social media and you haven't liked our Facebook or Instagram, that is a great way also to stay informed about some activities. We'll also make sure both principals send this information home as well. So if you lose this paper in your car, throw it away with the Dunkin' Donuts cup. Be assured that another piece will be coming home, probably electronically via email through the principals at the elementary school. And I think if there's no other, formal questions, we can kind of have everyone.
This is a new sweatshirt.
Oh,
that
look.
just came out.
Oh, I want. Oh, that's nice. That is fancy.
That's in the store today.
So yeah, so check out the store. There's a lot of really fun things. I was very excited. This is my first year here at Tohoto. I live in West Boylston, so I love the community, and I was just really excited to get gear. Like I was like, well, I want some sweatshirts and mugs and all kinds of stuff. So it's a great way that we support the parent-teacher organization. That money comes really right back to the school, any profits that it makes. So it really is a great way for us to be supportive of the community. Are there any specific questions that you think that are worthy of the whole group? We can take some of those, and then individual questions will hang around for a little while extra. Yes?
Are the electives for after?
For the electives, we do.
So the rotational electives, the one with music, and those are half year. The art, the band, jazz, those are fully. Yeah, they're every other day.
Any other general questions? Yes?
If you have an older student, you would set up separate school parent accounts?
That's a great question.
They're usually linked. They just have to do a link in Power School. They do like a family link. So typically you don't have to sign up for a new one. You just need to add the student to your parent account.
So the existing ones, you just go and just add.
Yeah, and that's up to you. Yeah.
Yep, that should be on here as well.
Oh, you do, okay.
Yeah.
Because that is, Miss Ojeda, the guidance secretary, she made a special note to me today to make sure that I reminded everyone, if you have an older student, but it won't link now. I think, right, the year has to roll over, so then it'll link.
So you shouldn't be creating separate.
No.
No.
Any other general questions?
What is an absence? I'm sorry. Is this, well, let's say there are 3 absences per year. Is this 1 day, 1 week?
1 day,
One day, okay.
one day absence is considered, so they have 3 parent excusals. That
So
doesn't
3 days.
mean that, if your child is very ill, we want to make sure that they're healthy and that they're well cared for. And that's, it's that balance of making sure that families are accountable for making sure their students are coming to school, but also making sure that everyone stays healthy and doesn't, so it's that balance. So, although I really hate to say excused versus unexcused, but the way everything's written, there's 3 excused parental excusals. But if you have a doctor's note, say your child, is getting their tonsils out, and the doctor will write a note, and those absences will be excused for that.
I think nowadays, as a parent, you sometimes keep your child home for a cold or a fever and might not go to the doctors because we know how difficult sometimes that is, just getting there, right? Or the doctor doesn't want to see you right away, right? So that's where those parent medical excusals can kind of help you out without the doctor's note. The doctor's note can be in addition to, especially for, a longer absence that has to do with the medical piece. Yes.
Just quickly, Chad, so Learn Wealth can be used as the system to update kids, absences or like parent pickup or, whatever the changes can be.
That's a great
You guys
question.
all
So
say
we are
that?
going to be doing something like that because we need to track that dismissal piece. Currently, this year, we do not, but that is going to be something we're going to be adding in, especially for bus changes, dismissal changes. It is definitely, there's a lot more, like we talked a lot about the student accountability. There's a lot more ownership on the students, obviously, in middle school, but it is still, we want to still be watchful and careful and safe about your students after that dismissal bell rings. So we will be putting in something in place so that we have that notification. Yeah.
Is everybody familiar with the website? Is everybody familiar with the website? No? All right, just, I think, this is.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you need me to go on? I closed all my tabs, luckily. You get to see everything I was working on. It's exciting. I was a little nervous actually before you just.
So it's not showing under construction, so then you would go to Tonto. And our school, so there's information there for students, high school, middle school information, let's see where that is. So middle school information, there's scheduling information, program of studies, the program will link, the current program of studies that was just approved by the school committee is linked in this letter.
Yeah, in this letter, in this
It's
presentation,
not
this one is not
uploaded
updated,
on, because we just transitioned with the website, so we're still trying to coordinate information. So there's information on a variety of areas here. And then there is also a tab here for Power School login. And you would want to follow the information if you're a first-year student. You want to follow that information in this document that you just received. And let's see. Clubs, athletics. The athletic, middle school athletics, the athletic website, so we see that there are a variety of middle school athletics. There's the athletic handbook and then our page. And this, everything you do with athletics is linked onto this page. We can have an athletic director, or who you could reach out to for questions. But the website's very, very helpful. We will provide information, in a like via email, via our Google Classroom, not Google Classroom, like a Gmail account, we'll send out information, school messenger. So we try to put out as much information as possible. The website is a really great place to start. Yes.
The student council August, like welcoming thing, is
Yes.
that like the evening, a day, does it tend to be like the week before school?
It is during the day, and it's usually in the morning. Yep, it's usually in the morning, and it's usually around the week before school. Usually, that's historically when it's been around the week before school. Or that Monday, Tuesday before, so it's close up.
We found a lot of kids that the worries they have are things like the locker and getting lost in the building, and I think the building looks big from the outside, but once you, like 5 of their 7 classes are in one hallway, and it's 4 rooms right next to each other. So we found a lot of kids just do well having that day to get settled, decorate their locker, know their combo, and it just alleviates some of that stress and anxiety on the first day. So I think it helps a lot with us.
Yes.
What are the school hours for the middle?
The school hours, so they'll arrive on the bus and probably around 7:15. Class starts 7:35, and the bell rings at 7 to release the students from school at 2:14. And they'll, if they take the bus or a parent pickup. Any other questions?
We'll be around, I think probably the best way is safety and exit. We'll head out to the hallway, that way if you have any questions, we'll be out there, and the student store is out there as well, and if you haven't been to Township before, there's also the cafeteria and the gym right on the first floor, and we'll also have some of our parent representatives, as well, and I'll have additional letters if you need those. Thank you all.
Thank you, thank you for coming.